Basically, I have been dealing with the history and culture of the Dominican Republic in my work for about 25 years now. And I realized that baseball is a very important part of that history and our culture. Dominican baseball players in the major leagues have made such an impact in the American pastime. I'm impressed with how small the country is and how many great players they produce. And if we compare it, for example, to California, which is the state that produces the most baseball players in the major leagues, we are still ahead of them. The proportion that we produce in relation to our population is larger than any state. Anybody who follows baseball knows that Dominicans play with anything. They play with barefooted, with no equipment. They made their own equipment when necessary. I did that as a child, sometimes taking a piece of wood and making it into a baseball bat. Sammy Sosa, Miguel Tejada, all these players, when they were children, they used to play with gloves made out of milk cartons. It was an incident that happened when Sammy Sosa hit a baseball in the field and the bat broke and they found cork into it. And he got a lot of bad publicity. And I thought that I could remedy this, and I thought, what can I do? And after I read that, all the bats that he had in his locker room and the ones in Cooperstown were x-ray and scanned, and they all came clean. I said, well, he's got to be kind of supportive for his accomplishment. I didn't want him not to have some kind of statement made to back him up. And I created this piece called Our Man that is made out of glass. It's a regulation size baseball bat. And it works in two ways. The glass has two meanings in this. It's a metaphor for the transparency of the X-ray and the scan of the bats that he did. And also you can see clearly there's nothing inside it. You can see through it. And also the fragility of fame, that is the same fragility that glass has. The piece is not just a baseball bat, there is sugar that goes underneath it, and that's another dimension of bringing the Dominican culture and Sammy Sosa's background into this, because it comes from a place that traditionally people have worked with the sugar cane. I focus on those players because they're really outstanding players. So it's very important to include people that have made history, like Osvaldo Virgil, who joined the major of the first Dominican in 1956. Then you have the Lowe brothers, Felipe and Mateo and Jesus. You got Juan Marichal, which is one of the greatest pitchers of all time. The only Dominican in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. Then you have other players that are more up to date that we're familiar with. For example, Vladimir Guerrero, Alex Rodriguez, Pedro Martinez, of course, Davey Ortiz, Sammy Sosa. I think that Latinos have contributed a lot to this country. It's important for the society at large to understand this contribution that we make. And by using the names, that's a way of saying, yes, the Latino are contributing. The granite in which I use to engrave the names, the baseball of the past, has to do with the history of sculpture. Something is a material that is also very lasting. Once you engrave something on it, you know for sure it's going to stay there. Neon is the opposite, for example. It's something that is very flashy and also something that can break very easily. And then we have the mink glove. It has something to do with the salaries that the baseball players command. And the affluence is a lot of money. Mink is a very fancy material. It's something that you associate with that kind of money. It's very important that I focus on the statistics and the salary, because baseball is based on performance and the salaries are based on performance, and we are performing very well. I name a series of work, the sky is the limit, because we had to take into account that I would say all Dominican baseball players come from a very humble background, and they have been able to perform very well at what they do and to reach these incredible salaries, something that is dreamlike. My work deals with history and social issues. I want people to appreciate the history behind it. I want them to get a better understanding of Dominican history and culture, to show how proud we are of that tradition, and also how we have been performing. It's all these elements that go into it. It's a way of explaining part of our culture, our history. And I hope everybody can get that out of this exhibition.